Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Now you may have seen my first run review of the Nike Invincible about a week ago. I've now got them up to about 50 miles and I thought I would give you a brief update of how I'm getting along. Now you might be wondering why I've got a tub of skin on skin and Hyperfix. Well, the skin on skin has a little tab to alleviate blisters and the Hyperfix is basically surgical tape to keep them in place. And the reason for that is I've got a bit of a blister on the left side of my right big toe. Now it seems to be a bit of a common problem with the Invincible. I know Ed Budd has had similar issues, and I've seen a few other people on Strava and stuff reporting similar stuff. So I did a little quick video of me putting these dressings on and a very quick attempt to see whether it actually fixed the problem. Okay, so we're all taped up, ready to go for a run. Let's see if I can get through this without getting more blood on my toes.
There's actually a lot of an air gap there between the side of my toe and the side of the shoe, so I know Ed Bud thought that was the problem there, but yeah, it doesn't seem to be actually even touching, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. You can see me that side, that's my edge of my toe there.
So we're off on the run. Let's see if I can get through this one unscathed, as it were.
Right, let's see how the feet are. A dry foot. That's encouraging.
But it did, fortunately, I didn't get any more blood seepage through today, but it's quite sore in that area and I'm being rather mindful of it. Now I've got the right shoe here, and the blister actually is pretty much where this strip is, which Ed Bud thinks is the problem. And I think he could be right, but equally, as you saw that little clip, my foot isn't actually touching that area at all. In fact, there's a bit of an air gap. Maybe that's the problem, that there's too much of an air gap and my foot is kind of moving around slightly and touching it. But it doesn't really feel like that when I'm running in the shoe. It's very wide here, but equally I not feel like I'm swimming around in it and I feel quite locked down. Across the midfoot here, I've got these shoes quite tight, and with my very narrow feet, I've actually got a reasonable length of lace sticking out, unlike probably people with wider foot who are probably going to struggle. I don't need to do the double knot in this one, so I've certainly got enough lace there. I'm not quite clear what's going on here, but certainly there's a bit of an issue, and I'm just trying to manage that with those little pads and hope it sort of heals up. Because I think there's an element, once you've got a blister, then when you go running in any shoe, there's really a vulnerability there, so you've really got to put up some sort of plaster on it or some sort of covering like I did. Otherwise you're just going to run 10-15 minutes, it's going to get hot and the wound's going to be revealed again. So I'll manage that for the next couple of days and see how I feel. Now, as I've now done about 50 miles in this shoe, I'm starting to think, well, what shoe is this comparable with? Well, the obvious answer is the NOVABLAST, and it's probably the one shoe that is most comparable if you're talking about a single shoe. But in terms of the experience, I'm probably more liking it to two shoes. One is a cross between the Adidas Ultra Boost and the other the New Balance 1080 V10. The Ultra Boost because it's such a feeling of sinking in this shoe, and the 1080 V10 because of sort of the rocking motion that I feel in it. You never quite feel that you're running on the flat on that shoe. You always feel like you're sort of landing and then sort of rolling on a sort of a curve. And I'm starting to feel that sort of feeling in this shoe, but combining with the soft feeling as well. So it's not an entirely unpleasant experience, but it does feel like, to me, it does make sort of runs a bit harder because A, the shoe's very heavy, and you're always trying to sort of fight this feeling that you're not actually being propelled forwards. You're being propelled much as up and down as you are forwards. And that's perhaps one of the problems with having so much ZoomX in this. And you just aren't getting that same propulsion forwards like you feel like you're on the next percent because you haven't got that carbon plate in there to kind of stabilize the ZoomX so much. Now, if we turn the shoe over, and I'm already starting to see a bit of wear after 50 miles. When I sort of toe off here, I can see some of these little sort of mini studs, as it were, starting to get a bit worn down. I think after another 50 miles, expecting some of them to almost worn away completely. And that's always an area where I see most wear in my shoes. And I don't think it's necessarily a problem yet, but I started to feel that in a few runs, I was starting to feel my toes a bit more. So considering all that sort of stack there, then it's kind of odd that already I'm starting to feel that it's not giving me complete protection for my toes. What I certainly do find, there's a huge amount of cushioning in the middle. It always does make you feel like you want to sort of rock back a bit. I think that's why some people say that it sort of works better when you're running a bit faster, or at least trying to. Because I think when you run a bit faster, you kind of naturally throw yourself forward a bit. and you don't quite get that feeling that you want to sort of roll back onto the back of the shoe where you've got the bulk of the cushioning. So when I've actually tried to pick up the pace from, say, a sort of outside 8-minute pace to sort of a 7:30 pace, then I'm instantly sort of feeling like I'm feeling much more a toe off feeling, and then just having the midfoot as more of a landing, and then the back of the shoe is coming out of it altogether. But I think that's probably the case in any shoe, and I think I always find that any time I'm running faster, it always feels like a more pleasant experience because you feel like you're getting somewhere. But this is kind of a shoe that I'm sort of reaching for my easy days, and part of the problem with that is that on your easy days, you're usually recovering from, say, a hard session or a long run, so you're often not at your most freshest. So there's a slight problem when you've got a shoe that's heavy and making you want to sort of fight it a bit. That's perhaps not the best shoe. But having said that, I think it's because of the cushioning. I always feel that my legs feel pretty good afterwards. And apart from this blister issue, I'm not really having any major issues in terms of the comfort, and I'm quite liking it. And I think the fact that I have actually reached for it for now 6 times and done 50 miles in it, I think it's probably one of the fastest shoes I've got to 50 miles in quite a while. I've got some shoes I bought, I haven't even got to 50 miles, and yet I've already managed to get this one to it. So I think it's one I'll continue to use for my recovery runs, but maybe not quite as much, because I think I would want to sort of try a few different ones for some days, because I feel like so much heft to carry around, and is this really making you recovered? So it's a bit of a Marmite shoe, and I think I might need to come back to you another time and give some more opinions on how I'm getting on. It'll be interesting to see. I'm doing a session tomorrow when I put on a faster shoe, whether I have sort of feel like I'm getting some sort of benefit from having all this extra weight for the slower feeling. Will I get the lift from putting a faster shoe on and a lighter shoe? There's been quite a lot of comments about whether I would recommend this shoe and whether I go for this over the NOVABLAST. Well, I think it's a tricky one, because no doubting that NOVABLAST now can be had for cheaper. And I think in some ways it's probably a better shoe in terms of affordability, because it's a bit lighter, perhaps a bit more versatile. You don't feel like you're kind of working quite so hard in this one. But then again, this is probably the most cushioned shoe I've got. So if you just want to go out and feel like you've got maximum padding under your feet, this is probably a good option. Although it's a shoe that you feel slightly better when you're going faster, it's not necessarily a shoe that you actually want to go faster in because it's so cushioned. So it's a bit of a dilemma. But I certainly wouldn't rule it out of hand. And if you like Nike shoes and you like a very cushioned, very soft ride, then it's certainly worth checking out. And at least with Nike, you can buy them, and then if you really don't like them, you can send them back. So anyway, hope you found this little update interesting and worthwhile. Please comment below if you've got any more questions on the shoe, and look forward to seeing you in the next one then. Bye.